So, back again. Um, Still on the topic of hoping that you're doing well, first and foremost, whoever you are. Um, I don't, not that I don't care who you are, but I don't know. Hopefully, you speak English. Hopefully, I can speak English well enough that you understand what I'm saying. And yeah, if you are psychotic or looking for insights into psychosis or anything like that, please know that I'm benevolent. Nothing I'm saying is targeted towards you. Um, Not trying to victimize anyone. I might come across as maybe judgmental or a know-it-all, or like I'm, trying to persuade people to do things or to believe certain things or whatever, and I'm not. I'm trying to be as objective as possible. Um, if you've listened to the previous videos, this one will be titled probably part 5 or whatever. Um, then you'll know about my, partly about my journey from severe psychosis, a diagnosis of long term psychotic disorder, hospitalization, medication, um, drug use, alcohol abuse, COVID lockdowns, everything, little snippets of my journey through all of that, and to finding and embracing the sort of clarity that I have now. And that's what I'm trying to share. There's many threads in the tapestry that I'm just really just beginning to weave now. I've never really felt too comfortable making YouTube videos, or obviously I've some close friends and family and stuff who I've spoken to kind of here and there, but I think a lot of the time with the mental health issues, depression, psychosis, is the feeling of not being understood, or having so much to say that you know sometimes there's an element of self-awareness with that. Is like, I don't want to put this on people. I might be seeing a psychologist or a counselor, or maybe I could even be in hospital now, and I'm speaking to people, all this stuff, but it's all it's part of the process and all that. It's all really beneficial, but there's so much to say with it. Psychosis, depression, or maybe not much to say with depression. Maybe you just like can't formulate the words. Or with psychosis, it's like I can formulate it, but it's people are not believing me, and not their version of reality is not the same as mine, and I can anything that comes back from them, if I'm in a paranoia fear state or something, it's like targeted abuse or manipulation or whatever, or if I'm looking for stuff online, speaking in YouTube comment sections and sending voicemail to friends or writing emails to ex-girlfriends or whatever. Do you know what I mean? The mode of output of communication, trying to get your point across. I'm going to stick more with psychosis. There's so much when you're in it, when you're coming out of it, before you go into it. It's like, yeah. So I was always kind of conscious, suspicious, paranoid, conscious of not wanting to put that much burden of, it could be verbal diarrhea, it could make sense, it could be like highly emotionally charged, angry rants or whatever. The people who love me enough, who are willing to like listen to that, I'm aware that they love me and I don't want to put that all on them. So, and then doctors or whoever, they're, it's all very censored a lot of the time if you're speaking to them, because you think they're part of the problem, being part of the system that you see is corrupt and all the rest of it, or police, or like that sense of people are only out for themselves at the minimum, or they're out to get me on the more extreme end of it. And do you know what I mean? So just so much of it just doesn't get said for such a long period of time, and it adds to the frustration. It adds to, combined with whatever material you're taking in, reading or watching videos or listening to people or whatever, like the confirmation bias then builds up, and it can just get so much worse, and unsaid, and just it can start resulting in hearing voices and seeing things, feeling things, touching you, all these, it's like really it just becomes super intense. And a lot of it is down to not being able to express what's going on, having someone there who understands, who can hold space for you and allow you to not judge you what you're saying, but allow you to get it out. And if you are making sense, to agree and say, yeah, you're making sense there. That's possible. Might not be happening right now or whatever, but it's possible. Do you know what I mean? Like, so many things are possible. But the thing with the psychosis is we tend to become convinced that things which are possible but unlikely, we become convinced that they're undeniably true, and that they're sinister and dangerous a lot of the time, whether for personal ramifications, or you think you might need to make others aware of how dangerous and sinister things are, and they won't believe it. They won't see it the way you see it, and it can become very, very isolating. um yeah, and it's a hard one. To come back from. And usually when you get to that point, you've got a process of stuff to go through, before emerging out to this place where I am now, coming back to this sort of place of clarity, um, alongside my appreciation of nature, getting in touch with nature, survive the benefits of survival mode, exercise, doing something new, getting out of the box, holding on to the truth inside yourself, and persevering through the shitty processes of psychosis. And just, it's like being in the middle of a whirlpool, and the truth is never going to let you drown in that. Other stuff might force you to drown, but the truth will never let you drown. The truth is buoyant. It floats through all levels. That's what makes it the truth. It's the same at every level of understanding and cognition and reality, whatever way you want to. The truth is there at every level, in every lie, in every false perception, in every delusion, in every dream, in every moment of waking life, every conversation, every acknowledgement of beauty in the world, every feeling of disgust within yourself, everything. The truth is there at all levels, and it's just our perception does not align with it at all times. So the maelstrom of life, or the whirlpool, it's the truth that will keep us from drowning in that, and you just gotta keep swimming and swimming and swimming against it. And yeah, it eventually, the truth always wins, and you'll get out of it. And that initial part of getting out of the middle of the cyclone, that's the most painful thing. You got yourself in there. It might have been a quick, or from the edge of that, getting caught up in the edge of that storm and getting sucked into it. Initially, it mightn't have been too bad, and there's drugs and stuff to deal with the pain of getting sucked further and further into the storm until you're in the eye of the cyclone, and you got to get out of it, or stay buoyant, stay floating long enough, clinging to that truth long enough for the cyclone to end, and for more positive weather conditions to settle in, So some of the other things that helped me along was, not really having some people to talk to, but then, with a lot of the rants and the craziness and the anger and stuff like that, people eventually are going to stop putting up with that. They've got their own lives to live. They can't be, if you've been studying conspiracy theories for 20 years, and it's like, you're looking at these patterns for 10 plus years, that's nearly a doctorate level of understanding. You know what I mean? It's a few hours every day for years and years and years, and then you come to these simple conclusions about how the way it is because you've simplified it for yourself. You've followed the tangents and you've ended up at the same simple answers over and over again. Like, they're corrupt. This is how they operate. And, you're trying to get people to understand that who haven't also. It's like, one surgeon speaking to the janitor about surgery. To the surgeon, it's all very simple. But to the janitor, it's like, I'm just going to go back to sweeping the floor, you mad bastard. So... yeah, it can eventually become difficult to have people to talk to, unless it's just more people like you, other surgeons, and you're getting confirmation bias. And then it comes down to, well, I have all this knowledge. I'm a surgeon. I've got all this knowledge and tools, and I've put in the time and everything. What am I going to do with it? What can I do with it? I'm not going to march into government buildings and take my little scalpel and start lopping heads off, It's never going to happen. Not successfully. But I mean, you have to, if you've emerged, you get to that point, you get out of the middle of the storm, or you've realized you've aligned with nature. The truth within yourself has aligned with nature, and something above all those confirmation biases and harsh conclusions about life and extraordinary beliefs and rejections from people, and like something else even more simple has aligned at a higher level than that, and that's your own truth aligning with the natural cycles. So going back to getting up with sunrise, putting in exercise, being out in nature, seeing animals, if you're afraid of spiders, being out and not running away from spiders, or being too afraid to go into a room because there's a spider in there, just for example. Like, oh, I'm going to go camping in the forest. Oh, look, there's a nice little pond nearby. That's quite picturesque. And here, I'm just going to sleep under this trees. And then you realise that ponds are where mosquitoes breed and hatch from. So you're better off, hiking for another hour or two till you find a nice little dry patch with a bit of breeze below you, not blowing directly on you maybe, so it's difficult to sleep or manage, but it's breezy enough around that the mosquitoes can't pick up on your carbon dioxide in your breath, because that's how they find you initially. They can smell your breath from like 100 meters away, and then they have other senses that they engage as they get closer to you, you know. But the wind is your friend when it comes to mosquitoes, and they're not very strong flyers either. So yeah, all these aligning with nature and fine tuning your ability to manage, being able to, you know, do a lot of little things well, make sure you have everything you need, and yeah, being able to put your head down that night, warm, dry, fed, with water, with whatever you need the next morning, and knowing that you're like 98% safe. And yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to do that when you're living in a town or a house or any of that kind of stuff. So when it comes to, you know, like, obviously maybe you can't go out there and sleep on the beach or cycle through an entire country or across a continent, or you can't get the time or whatever, so maybe you're paranoid and suspicious, you've given up the weed and you still have to go to work, or you're on the dole on social welfare payments, sitting at home with nothing to do, and just you know, you've followed the rabbit holes to the all-seeing eye at the top of the pyramid over and over and over again, and you can never figure out who's really running the world and who's responsible for all of this. Is it the Jews, or is it BlackRock, or the government, or, you know, the Rothschilds, or you know, can never really get at the answer, you know, once you're continually going down rabbit holes, if they're all popping up in the same place. So you have to start, you know, turning that investigation inward and looking at yourself. And I don't mean like, oh, I've put on a few pounds from drinking beer and I should really join the gym, and like, I'm talking about shadow work. And from just my own way, like, I've gone through so many things. Personal study. I've spent many years looking into alternative therapies, alternative medicines, yoga, meditation, different religions, the Buddhism, Hinduism, paganism, Christianity, you know, looking for things, little bits and pieces from all these different things that I might be able to apply in my own life to make things better. And you know, reading all sorts of stuff, hardcore early 20th century stuff like Freud, and even reading, going back to Greek philosophers. Read loads of Greek philosophy, Marcus Aurelius, going all the way up as far as Nietzsche, just loads and loads of things like that. Got into yoga heavily for a while. That really has its benefits as well, but yeah, if you're prone to psychosis, doing lots of yoga and stuff like that under not proper guidance, that can land you into more trouble as well. It can raise up energies and bring stuff to the surface that you're not prepared to deal with. But eventually I found Carl Gustav Jung. He was a student of Freud, and he was a psychiatrist initially, and then went more into like philosophical psychology, came up with his whole thing. I'm sure if you know about him, then you know about him. If you don't, Carl Carl Jung, Jung, sorry. He was Austrian and a truly, truly remarkable man with a massive breadth of work. Everything from dream analysis. He developed a whole language and methodology for deciphering, decoding dream language, so you can apply it in your own life. Loads and loads of books, loads of different types of work as well. Some stuff way more esoteric and mystical and stuff. He was a mystic as well, but he managed to keep it scientific as well. But generally, overall, his work is based on compassion, not identifying symptoms and disorders and treating them, but compassion for everyone. It's a very Buddhist type approach, but his work is not based in Buddhism. Obviously, he knew a lot about Buddhism. But yeah, it's like the most fundamental essence of his work is compassion. And compassion, like truth, real compassion, cultivated compassion. I'm not talking about empathy. I'm talking about real compassion. For everyone at all times, all beings, all people. It's not just like going, oh, I love you and I love you and I love you. It's just like compassion is far more robust and applicable than just going around saying I love you or I feel your pain or any of this kind of stuff. It's very, it's practical. You know, like compassion can be sorry, I'm just looking for my power bank in my pocket because my battery is getting low. I said I'd only talk until my battery died, but I managed to get onto Jung now, so I'll be rattling on for a few minutes. Yeah, like compassion can be stern, you know, you might call it tough love or something like that at times, but it's wisdom based. That's why you have to cultivate it. Knowledge is not wisdom. You can have wisdom without having a lot of knowledge, but wisdom generally comes from experience or from just having a good grasp of the obvious, having seen the same patterns over and over again, and, you know, coming to the truth over and over again at different levels, understanding that the truth is always the truth at all levels of understanding. And so wisdom can take many forms because it's always pointing out the truth. You know, there'd be no need for wisdom if there was clarity with everyone, because people wouldn't be floundering around with neuroses or delusions or ignorance or whatever. You know, everyone would just have clarity. There would be no need for people to bestow wisdom, or it would probably take a different form, you know, from older people probably who are suggesting to younger people who already have clarity, is like, this is how you can enhance your clarity more or develop where from where you are now, you know, and point out the truth as time goes on and things develop. You know, wisdom is always seeking the truth. Some people are at a place where they can dispel or provide wisdom in order that someone can apply it in their own life. And compassion is wisdom like that, based on love and understanding of people's pain. And, you know, and a lot of the time, to cultivate compassion, not a lot of the time, every time, you have to it has to be, you know, the love, the self-love, the compassion, the understanding of your own pain and trauma and psychological problems and all of that. You have to kind of do that work within yourself. That's how you cultivate compassion. And then you can, once you've done that, then you see those negative patterns or patterns of destructive behavior, whatever it is, you see that in other people, you know, that they're suffering endlessly with it, but you know that there's the way out. And that's when compassion, you know, it's sort of like the ultimate wisdom, really. And that's what Carl Jung's work is based on. He's seen it all. He's had tens of thousands of patients, maybe, seen the same phenomena over and over again, been through it himself, you know, persistently, kept a fresh perspective on his own being, and worked relentlessly to help other people and to bring an understanding with immense creativity and a simplicity as well, to the world. Like obviously he's very popular, but you know, he's not dead too long. And like a lot of these like phenomenal, amazing people who brought so much to the world, it's not till we've gone past a bit. Maybe it's a few decades or a few centuries, and we don't have a wide enough lens on their contribution, because we're still sort of in the same era as them, you know. Their stuff, their work is still sprouting and germinating in minds, you know. Their students and people, they're still alive now, and all that kind of thing. And so the long-term benefits and things that they've provided have not quite become apparent. And it's the same with bastards in history as well. If you look at Genghis Khan, I'm sure he was a worthy adversary and all that in his time, but it's not until, you know, 400 or 500 years later that we see the impact that one man had on humanity, you know. I'm sure it'll be the same with Hitler or Bill Gates or, you know, all these movers and shakers, but yeah, Carl Jung is one of the good guys, and I find that his work will reach me kind of wherever I am in my own little processes, whether I'm in a good mood or a bad mood. Just listening to one of his talks. So I should just clarify, he's got loads and loads of books and all that kind of stuff, but recently, one of the good things about AI created videos is, what I found great is the Carl Jung videos. There's quite a few channels. I'll put a link to one or two of them, or just the main one that I use. I'll put it in the description, the link. And yeah, they're generally an hour long, and it's read in Carl Jung's voice. And the creator of these videos has put like beautiful artwork and stuff slowly panning in the background, so you can look at that as you listen, or just like, you know, do something else while listening. That's what I'm saying. If you're sort of stuck in your 9 to 5, or you're just stuck at home and you have to peel a few spuds, or, you know, plaster a wall, or, you know, if you're doing a bit of artwork or something, you know, put something on in the background, a podcast, something educational, something insightful, you know, listen to an interview with a Buddhist monk, or, you know, even if these people aren't the ultimate enlightened geniuses that we hope they are, we might get something out of it, you know what I mean? Look for the outliers, for the people who aren't in it for huge amounts of money, you know. They're not selling anything. They seem to have seen through society in some way and said, that's not for me, I'm going to a monastery, or I'm going to become a psychotherapist, or a trauma counselor. I can see what's going on. I feel like I have a certain amount of wisdom and compassion cultivated that I can help people. And look for those people in your life. They've gone to lengths to master their mind. Whether they've fully mastered their mind or not, only they know that, really. But that's also the beauty of the internet. So yeah, the Carl Jung videos, and it's his work, and it's him. It's an AI generated version of his voice reading out his work. So yeah, and I think it can reach people kind of wherever you are, mood wise, or and they might be 40 minutes to an hour long. But that's something that I've found extremely beneficial. Even if I'm having a good day or a good few days, I'll stick them on as just a little reminder. That I'm still doing that work. I'm not going to start. I'll leave the link in the description, and you can look into it yourself. But I'm sure you'll find something that's applicable to you. It's not, sort of far-flung Eastern mysticism. It's not cold, sterile, neuroscience. It's not statistics. It's really accessible. But yeah, once again, depends where you are. There's loads of other people like that. It might be Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Zen Buddhist, Zen master, Buddhist monk, one of the greatest people who ever lived. I think out of all these gurus that I've come across over the years, last, however long YouTube has been around, and then whatever books and stuff that I would have come across before that, Thich Nhat Hanh is maybe the closest to being truly enlightened. Yeah, I would look him up. He sadly passed away now, but did so much work, focused so much on bringing peace to the world and love and self-understanding and being present in the moment, keeping things simple, just enjoying nature, allowing yourself to just be in nature. And his work will go on for a very long time. He has left a strong imprint on the fabric of the reality that we live in, and I feel like he's very much still alive. So we've got Carl Jung, Thich Nhat Hanh, and there's any amount of Indian gurus, Indian yogis. One I resonate quite well with at the moment is a guy called Sri M, SRI, and then the letter M. It's short for something. Shri is like yogic word or Hindi word for saint, and M is his name. He's got a big long name beginning with M that nobody knows. So he just says Sri M. The Satsang Foundation. He's a yoga guy, Indian guy, brilliant English, brilliant communicator, and he's not pretentious. He's very, very practical. You can find him speaking about loads of different stuff. He's all over YouTube, and I think he doesn't have as much of like an agenda with making money and getting followers and all that kind of thing as some of the other yogic type gurus who might kind of be falling more in line with Osho and that kind of thing, who are, big into the material wealth side of things. Then again, I could be wrong about Sri M, but I think he's just a great communicator. This phenomenon of bringing ancient Vedic, Hindu, Buddhist type knowledge into the English speaking world it's relatively new. You've got it happening since only really the 60s, 50s, 60s. And then, of course, when a lot of it makes its way over to America and the UK and all this stuff, it becomes capitalized on. People are doing yoga and meditation and this stuff, and it all becomes a money racket and wearing tight pants and bending your body in all sorts of weird ways. And, they're the parts that you can sell in the West. So this even more recent phenomenon of having actual yogis on YouTube who can speak English and translate stuff from the ancient texts and all the old techniques and knowledge and all that kind of stuff. Some of them are charging money for some of the techniques and all that. I'm not sure. I've never seen him trying to sell anything, but he probably does. But once again, there's thousands of hours of lectures and presentations and stuff that he does for free on YouTube. So yeah, it's all worthwhile. It's all gathering knowledge to be turned into wisdom. Doesn't have to be all conspiracy rabbit holes. Yeah, it's about beginning to turn that very highly attuned, sharp intellect that you've got, and learning how to manage it. Identifying it for the tool that it is, the intellect, a tool that you should be able to pick up and put down. Not just have it churning and churning and churning and dissecting and coming to conclusions. All day, every day. Having that racing thing going all the time. There's something more. When you're out in nature, wandering, going through a forest looking for a place to camp, or you can't be thinking all the time. You have to be aware. You have to be present about what's going on around you. And sure, your intellect comes into play at certain times, maybe sometimes very intensely, when you have to achieve a task and make decisions and weigh up options and all that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? But a lot of the time, it's not the intellect really that's engaged. So there's other aspects of the mind that are there. And yeah, it seems like the Eastern traditions and Buddhism in particular have a lot of knowledge about that, how to engage with it, how to cultivate compassion, all these kind of things. And that's the sort of thing I would be looking for. It's the beauty of the internet. It's an immense tool. It's got all that stuff on it, books, PDFs, videos, other people who are into it, you know what I mean? So, switch up the pursuits, the intellectual pursuits, into something more wholesome. It could be studying geometry, going back to the Greek philosophers and all those amazing things that they came up with way back then. The guys who invented democracy and then said that democracy was a pile of shit. They said democracy is shit. It will never work. It will never bring any society to great heights. And that, it's not a great idea for women to be voting as well. Do you know what I mean? That's something to consider. Like, that's women just vote now. But have you considered that, if 50% of the population is voting for the kind of fuckers that are in power now, that are running riot all over the planet and have been since Rome? Yeah, if you look at the statistics, it's like people are voting for these these weak, skinny, gay-sounding nice guys, that promise. It's like, yeah, it's like, I don't know, people that men would not like to be in a war situation with. I'm talking about the, basically any of the prime ministers you see around Europe, or presidents of countries, or anything like that. Like, which one of these great, powerful leaders would you want to be in a commando situation with some tribe coming after you in a jungle? Any of them? You think any of those guys would be able to have your back? Don't think so. So like, that's I think subconsciously who men are voting for. We're not aren't we want a strong leader. Someone who we could look at and be like, yeah, okay, so if I was having a cup of tea with this guy in my house and we got raided by a band of pirates, that I'd feel comfortable having this guy out there. I think that's what we're voting for, like a strong leader. But I think with women voting, they're voting for a nice guy, or a guy who seems nice and he looks sharp in his suit and he's got this and he says the right things, and then most of the women are going to vote for the nice guy, and then most of the men who are trying to appease the women are going to vote for the nice guy as well. And I think that's how we end up in this situation where the nice appearing fucking weak, weedy psychopaths end up running the show. So that's just another little bit of a rant I had there, based on something someone said recently. That women having the vote, not to take anything away from women at all, but they tend to vote for the nice guy. They mightn't be like attracted to the nice guy or whatever, but they just don't. It's because it's so unnatural, politics. Do you know what I mean? Because the issues that they're presiding over and everything, it's not natural. It's not a group of people trying to survive in the wilderness anymore. Where the strongest man is going to be leading and telling people what to do, and have, if not the second strongest and third strongest with him at all times, then the smartest will be with him to advise and stuff like that, just naturally. It's not that situation. It's all unnatural, done through the media. And women around the world now, when they're voting, they're seeing someone who likes the same TV shows as them. He's like the gay friend in some sitcom or something like that. And like, oh yeah, he's nice. He seems like he's compassionate, and he'll do the right things for the immigrants and the homeless and the sick babies, and he's telling me he's going to do all these things and all in this, completely unnatural, fabricated, terrible thing. And then the men want to keep the women happy, so they'll vote for the same person. I'm making the same point all over again, but I mean, in reality, what we need is actual. If we need leaders, well, leaders will emerge naturally anyway, and they'll be fucking strong men. Who can swing a sword or whatever. Who can get their hands on property and keep bad guys out and make sure that there's enough food for whoever is within the confines of that property until said battle is over and all the rest of it. So, yeah, the Greeks knew that from the get-go. You know what I mean? The guys who came up with democracy wish they hadn't. And here we are, 2,500 years later, developing countries all over the world. We want democracy. We want democracy. We don't want a monarchy or a anymore. You know, we want democracy like they have in the West, which is just the illusion of democracy. Anyway, so that's one tangent you can go down, or you can go back to Buddhism. And yeah, look into that. Fascinating stuff. Look at the artwork that the Tibetan painters have been doing for hundreds of years. It's amazing. Truly, truly amazing. Layers and layers and layers and layers of beautiful symbolism. And yeah, combined with, you know, a bit of self research and shadow work, you know, based on Jung. You know, use Jung as your ally in that. Turning away from the politics and, you know, casting aspersions and projecting the shadow out into the world, and women this and men that, and gays and immigrants and blah 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 blah, and just turn it inward. You know, Jung as your ally. Start looking into the beauty of the world and nature, and yeah, be able to speak to yourself honestly about it, and continue cultivating compassion, wisdom, and yeah, just start try and do things as they come into your mind. You know, like, oh, I gotta do the dishes. You've got that thought, just you should be on it before you even have the thought, not putting it off and procrastinating for ages. Do you know what I mean? Elements of psychosis, procrastination on so many different tangents as you go throughout years or months, or, you know, and procrastination about doing shadow work, about looking inside. It all culminates in frustration and accentuating the symptoms of psychosis and all the rest of it. So yeah, I think that's about it from me now. It's a little bit late here up the mountains in the Himalayas. My fire has gone out, and yeah, I'll talk to you next time. Be well, be happy, persevere, hang on to the truth, and float to the surface.